1439, and we have reached to lesson 45, which is chapter 32, and that's on page 95. The saying of Allah the Exalted, وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ.
Yes or not?
The Most Exalted said, chapter 32, the Most Exalted said, إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ يُخَوِّفُ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ فَلَا تَخَافُوهُمْ وَخَافُونِ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. It is only shaitan, it's only Satan that suggests to you the fear of his awliya, supporters and friends, polytheists, disbelievers in the oneness of Allah and in his messenger Muhammad. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him.
So read that again, the translation of the verse, please.
It is only Satan that suggests to you the fear of his awliya, supporters and friends, polytheists, disbelievers in the oneness of Allah and in his messenger Muhammad. May the peace and blessing of Allah be upon him. So fear them not, but fear me, if you are true believers.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له من يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, seek His aid, and ask His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evils of ourselves and from the evils of our actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can misguide. And whomsoever Allah leads astray, none can guide. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except for Allah alone, having no partner. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His slave and His messenger. To proceed. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Very the best of talks, beyond any doubt, is the book of Allah. The best of guidance is the guidance of His messenger Muhammad. May peace and blessings be upon him. And very the most evil of all matters are the ones innovated. For every newly innovated matter is an innovation, and every innovation in Islam is a misguidance, and every misguidance will lead to the hellfire. For verily, we bless, we praise and express our praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He had made us to go back to start the class, which was before on Al-Arbi'a, and the class was shifted because the Arbi'a class was stopped, so it was shifted to the day of Al-Ithnain. And we have said that on the day of the Ithnain we're going to be discussing the explanation of Riyadh al-Salihin, but because we haven't finished the Arbi'a class, which is the Kitab Tawheed, then we've shifted the class onto the day of Al-Ithnain, which is today, and that is why we're continuing from what we have left it on Al-Arbi'a, the last Arbi'a before Ramadan, onto the day of Al-Ithnain. And because the book is so important, I had actually decided to go through the whole book before we make an attempt to go and start the explanation of Riyadh al-Salihin. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy upon us and facilitate for us the way that we explain it, and to make what we hear something that we use on the day of resurrection for us, not against us. For verily, the person is in need of educating himself and removing the ignorance. That's the intention that you're supposed to have when you come to the class, is removal of the ignorance from yourself. And the second intention is to remove the ignorance from other people. And it is incumbent upon the person that when he worships Allah in knowledge. And the first knowledge that he should know, which is knowledge that to do with the mu'taqad, the creed. And the creed, if it's not correct, then everything will not be correct. But if the creed is correct, then anything beside the creed would be a secondary, something which is not as important as the creed. So fix your aqidah, fix your iman, and the rest will be much easier than that. And it will not be as significant as the mu'taqad. And we chosen the book, which is Tawheed. That is the Kitab of Tawheed. That is the one whose author had made it, Haqqullahi ala al-abid. And this is the incumbent right of Allah Azza wa Jalla on His slaves, that is to know Tawheed, monotheism. And in which he had made his book, as we have discussed, in the way that Imam al-Bukhari had made the book of his Sahih. So when we talk about the hadith, number one comes into our mind is Sahih Bukhari. We talk about Aqidah, number one comes to our mind the book of Kitab al-Tawheed of this Imam, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made for this book to be spread widely, and so many millions of copies spread, not to say it was translated in so many languages. Alhamdulillah that we have actually passed more than the half of the book at the moment, and we are not far away from the end of this book. And the last thing that we talked about was the mahabbah. The mahabbah, which is basically, it means the love, and which we have said that any ibadah to be accepted, it has to have two conditions. And in ibadah, it has to have two pillars. So, can I ask anybody would like to tell me what are the two conditions for the ibadah to be accepted? Qabul al-ibadah. Yes? And follow. So, qabul al-ibadah is two conditions, which is sincerity and the following of the Prophet ﷺ, otherwise the ibadah will not be accepted. And can anybody tell me the pillars of the ibadah? Any ibadah to be called an ibadah, it has to have these two, or you could say three things if you wish. So any ibadah, to be called ibadah, it has to have two things, or some of the scholars make them three, depending upon how you explain it. So what are those three things? Now, love, hope, and fear. You could never have an ibadah without those three things. It's not going to be called ibadah. And the chapter that we have explained before was to do with the mahabbah. And I remember I explained to you, I don't know if you recall with me, and I said, imagine a bird that's got a head and two wings. The head of the bird is the mahabbah, the love. And the two wings are hope and fear. Hope and fear. Then we said, for verily, the bird without a head is dead. And a bird who's got a head but it's got no wings, he's vulnerable for the vultures and for those other birds. So you have to have the three things. Again, the ibadah has three pillars. Mahabba, the love, fear, and the raja, which is the hope. So got fear, hope, and mahabba. We said the bird has got a head, two wings. The head, the bird, if it's not there, which is the mahabba, then the bird is not alive. And the hope and the fear are the two wings. If the two wings are not there, then the bird is vulnerable for being killed by other birds. So when we talk about the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say that you cannot worship Allah just only by the fear, because this is the way of the Khawarij. The Khawarij, they don't combine to the fear of Allah the hope and the love, and that is why you'll find them, they do their ibadah, but they don't find any love to that ibadah. They don't find any taste for that ibadah, and they don't have any motivation to that ibadah. So they are actually placing Allah Azza wa Jalla to be as a tyrant leader, and that would entail later on, and it would bequeath the desperation, and the person he is at the moment in such a situation that he's given up from the mercy of Allah, and he's having bad opinion of Allah Azza wa Jalla. and then will lead to the kufr. And that is when Khawarij, when they start with this, fear, so much extreme fear, and they worship Allah only with the fear, and they end up later on leaving the Islam completely 180 degrees. And also, if you worship Allah through the hope on its own, this is the way of the Murji'ah. The Murji'ah are the ones who had fallen into the deception where they thought that if they abandon the good deeds, there's no problem. And that will also entail that these people will leave the Islam. So when you just start worshipping Allah only with the hope, that means you're hoping, so you make a lot of sins and you're hoping that Allah will pardon you, and that, as I said, will make you conceited and put you to deception. And the third one, which is the love, if a person worships Allah only for the love, without the fear, without the hope, this is how the extreme Sufis, they do. And that when they say we worship Allah, it's not because we fear from His fire, nor we are hoping for His Jannah, but actually because we love Him for His essence. And this is a corrupted way of worship. And the consequences of such worship is that you're going to be securing yourself from the makr of the plan of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that would lead to the zandaqah, which person that means becomes an apostate and leaves the religion. And that is why the Salaf, the famous word they used to say, he who worships Allah with the love on its own, then he's a zindiq. And he who worships Allah with the fear, then he is from the Khawarij. And he who worships Allah through the hope, then he is a murji'. But he who worships Allah with the hope and fear and the love, then he is a real monotheistic. So this is how we are explaining now the third one, because talked about the love and talk about now the fear in this chapter. And the Imam Muhammad Suhaib rahimahullah started the chapter with the verse, and we're going to explain that verse inshallah in a minute. But let me first of all, that is, explain to you the meaning of the word khawf. Al-khawf, it means, that is, you are expecting the punishment for something that you have done. So this is khawf. Khawf, it means that you are expecting the punishment. And also, that is, khawf, it means the strength of your knowledge and awareness of what is going to take place. That is as well khawf. And also the khawf, fear, means the running of the heart away from something that will take place which he doesn't like whenever he feels it. So the heart runs away as soon as he feels there will be something bad taking place. So also the khawf that we're saying, the khawf is depression that attaches to the self, because it's always expecting something bad is going to take place, so that will cause the person to go into depression. The ayah, it is in Surah Al-Imran, and this is one of 3 ayahs going to be mentioned in this chapter. And the ayah is 175, Surah Al-Imran. إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ. Verily, this is the shaitan. إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ. This is the shaitan. That he scares his awliya. يُخَوِّفُ أَوْلِيَاءَ. Awliya are the ones who are dedicated to the deen and religion. فَلَا تَخَافُوهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't be scared of it. وَخَافُونَ. But actually, be scared of me, in kuntum mu'mineen, if you are true believers. Right, from this ayah, basically, we could see that the khawf, it has a number of categories. The khawf is not just one category, but actually it is more than one category. The khawf that was mentioned in this ayah is the khawf which we call it the khawf al-ibadah, or they call it as well khawf al-sirr, khawf of the sirr, the hidden khawf, which is the khawf of glorifying, khawf of getting closer, the khawf which will make the person not to embark upon the sin, and the khawf that he will be struck by poverty, or being killed, or all of that, or all the bounty has been taken away from him, the ni'mah, the grace. So this type of khawf, which is a khawf, which is the one that we call it khawf al-ibadah, the worship khawf, the khawf that is actually takes its roots from being knowledgeable of Allah Azza wa Jal, about His names and His attributes. The more you know about it, the more the khawf will be built inside yourself, that He's a watcher, He knows what you're doing, regardless how pitch darkness is the night. This is the khawf that is in the heart, and it's part of your iman. There's a khawf in the heart, raja in the khawf, and this is from the actions of the heart, in amal al-qalb. Actually, it is one of the pillars. So he who has the fear in that heart of his, then he will be sincere when he says the la ilaha illallah, the kalima. And he who does give this khawf to anyone other than Allah, then he has done major shirk. Not just minor shirk, but major shirk. Because he had made with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a deity, a rival with him. And this is how the kuffar and the mushrikeen at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that they used to believe in their idols and their gods, which are false gods. They used to fear them so much. And that's how Hud alayhi salam was told off by his people, and they scared him off. إِن نَقُولُ إِلَّا اعْتَرَاكَ بَعْضُ آلِهَتِنَا بِسُوءٍ. Hud 54. We would just say that something had happened to you because we believe that our God, which is this idols and the statues, had done something to you bad. That's why you are behaving like this. Exactly the same way that the people who worship the graves, we find that they will scare the followers of theirs from the inhabitants of those graves, from those righteous people who are already dead. So they are scared of them. So that is when we ask them to make an oath by Allah on doing something, they might make the oath whether they're lying or they're being truthful. But when you ask them to make the oath regarding and using the person who's inside that grave, he would not hesitate at all to do it. And he will never even contemplate to lie when he is making an oath by the name of the person who lives inside that grave, also the one who is dead inside that grave. That means he's scared of the person who's inside the grave more than he is scared of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's shirk akbar. So you find that, for example, if something happened to them, an oppression had befallen them, they will not go to Allah, they will go to those people, Ya Rifa'i, Ya Jilani, Ya Qadiri. Okay, so they will ask them to lift off this sort of burden from those people. So this is the type of the khawf that we should only have it to Allah, nobody else. Second type of khawf is the fear of the punishment of Allah, the threat of Allah. So the fear of Allah, al-wa'id. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had threatened those sinners that you will be exposed to punishment. And this is from the top rank of Iman. The top rank of Iman. And the Iman, of course, is ranks and levels. One of them is that it is you're fearing the threat of Allah Azza wa Jal. The third type is the prohibited fear. Prohibited fear is that the person, he abandons what he's supposed to do, such as, for example, making jihad, or such example, for example, enjoying good, or forbidding evil. And he has no excuse just because he's scared of the people. So, just like the person on the battle, when the army meets each other, he just runs away and he's not supposed to leave his partners because he will expose them to danger and death. This type of fear is prohibited, but it will not reach the level of shirk as the first one. So this is the type where we find that the person basically he is scared of doing something and there is no legitimate reason to make him scared. So, for example, somebody threatened him as well to to do the prayer of the Jama'ah, but that person cannot fulfill his threat, yet he does not fulfill his Jama'ah, then that is as well prohibited fear. The last one, which is the natural fear. The natural fear is a person's, fearing a snake and a beast, or he's in a sea, he's fearing to drown and all of that. And this fear, even how the Prophet Musa said, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ. He left Egypt and he was scared because he killed someone. فَأَوْجَسَ فِي نَفْسِهِ خِيفَةً. Musa. That is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Musa alayhi salam. He was scared. So Allah talked about رَبِّ إِنِّي قَتَلْتُ مِنْهُمْ نَفْسًا فَأَخَافُ وَيَقْتُلُونَ. Oh Lord, I have killed one of them, so I'm just scared they're going to kill me. So being scared like that is basically natural. Now we have only 2 minutes left for the prayer and the adhan, so we're going to leave it for the adhan and the prayer. Inshallah, continue after that. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. After negotiation with the students to come to the class, they said to me that the chapter was actually discussed on the day of Al-Ithnain. So we had Al-Ithnain already from the Kitab Tawheed. So we go straight away to the same chapter. We're going to make a recap, but I'm going to be asking questions. If you have taken the chapter, I'm going to be asking questions. Right. So I would say, first of all, that we said the ibadah, to be considered ibadah, has to fulfill 3 conditions: al-mahabba, love; the raja, which is the hope; and the khawf is the fear. Can anybody tell me that regarding the khawf and the raja, which one should we make it stronger than the other? Is it the hope or is it the fear? I have hope, we have fear. Hope that Allah will pardon our sins. Hope that we're going to get to the Jannah. Fear that Allah will punish us. Fear that Allah might put us in the hellfire. So which one should be the stronger from the other side? Is it the hope or is it the fear? I would like to answer. No, can't ask a question, you have to answer the question. How? You said what? You said? Balance, you have to fear and hope all together. Okay? What else? Depends on the situation. So, if you are hoping that tomorrow to do more deeds, and you do what? Hope or fear? No, so about to die, should hope in Allah, and the person is stronger and he's not dying, then should be putting the fear of Allah. Okay, what else? Okay, let's summarize. Actually, there are 5 sayings regarding this issue. Saying number 1, which Nasser had said, that is the Imam Ahmad, where he said that the person should have always the fear equals his hope. Because anyone is to overwhelm the other or supersede the other, then it will kill the person. He said, like it's like the bird's wing. For the bird wing to be functioning, it had to be the 2 together. That's one of the opinions. Second opinion is that you should always make the fear more than the hope in order to make you avoid the sins. And also later on it'll make you to embark upon the obedience, the ta'ah. The third opinion is that you should make the hope more than the fear in order to be optimistic. So the Prophet ﷺ used to love optimism. And the fourth one, which is that what our brother had said here, is that when you are making the good deed, you should always make the hope to be stronger than the fear. And when you are doing the sin, then you should make the fear more than the hope in order to stop you from doing the sin. And maybe this one is the best opinion, but you can see here with an ayah in Surah Al-Mu'minun, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوْا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ أَنَّهُمْ إِلَى رَبِّهِمْ راجعون. The ones who bring the good deeds, yet their hearts are in fear that they are going to return to their Lord. So when Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, Messenger of Allah, Are these the ones who are the thieves and the fornicators? He said, no, those are the ones who bring fast and charity and they pray their prayers, but they are in fear that Allah will not accept their good deeds. So the fear that Allah will not accept their good deeds. The fifth opinion is that when you are in sickness and about to die, then you make the hope stronger, and when you are in health, then you make the fear to be stronger. So these are the 5 sayings that we have mentioned already regarding the hope. Right, so we have, alhamdulillah, talked about the khawf and its categories, and we have no hesitation now to go straight away into the second verse, Doctor. وَقَوْلُهُ إِنَّمَا يَعْمُرُ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة ولم يخش إلا الله فعسى أولئك أن يكونوا من المهتدين. Surah At-Tawbah, verse 18. Translate it please for me.
Surah Tawbah, verse 18, translation of the meaning in English. The mosque of Allah shall be maintained only by those who believe in Allah and the last day, offer prayers perfectly, salah, and give zakah, and fear none but Allah. It is they who are expected to be on the true guidance.
Right, so this is second verse mentioned in the chapter, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the ones who mix amara to the masjid. Amara here is the one who is with his body, he comes to the masjid by praying, and also amara al-masjid, it means that you build the masjid. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attributed the masjid to himself. He said masajid Allah. Just like when we say naqatullah, when we say shahrullah, masajidullah, wa anna al-masajid lillah fala tad'u ma'a Allahi ahada. So the ones who really come to the masjid and the one who build the masjid, so even the kuffar, they build the masjid, but they're not going to get the benefit of it, are the ones who believe in Allah, in His Lordship, in His worship, in His asma' wa sifat, names and attributes, and the last day. Why is always the last day is combined to the believe in Allah all the time? Anybody else tell me? Why is always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, man amana billah wa yawmil akhir, man amana billah wa yawmil akhir, always like that? Why is the last day, has been mentioned, and we know that if you believe in Allah, you have to believe in the last day. But the emphasis is always on the last day. Yes, sir, Shakir? Because the polytheists did not believe in the hereafter. What else as well? It's because the person, when he believes in the last day, then he will believe that he's going to be accountable for what he does. And then there will be meaning for what he's doing. So he will be embarking upon the good deeds, going away and disembarking from the bad deeds. Because if he has no belief in the last day, he will not do anything. He will do it pointless. Why should he fear? Okay, so that is why the belief on the last day is very important. That you're going to go back to Allah and you're going to be questioned and accounted for what you do. Right, so when we say the belief in Allah, it includes the belief in the last day, but this is to make more emphasis. So when you believe in Allah on the last day, then the belief in everything that the Prophet ﷺ told us that will take place after death, from the grave punishment and the grave delight, all of that is included into that. That is the belief in Allah and the last day. Okay, right. The ayah then says, وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ, and he established the prayer. So always the prayer is linked as well to the mu'min. The believer, he is a believer, and he will do the establishing the prayer, whether the establishing here is talking about the obligatory acts, or which is the conditions and the pillars, or even the voluntary acts, which is from, like, for example, raising up the hands properly and following the Prophet ﷺ's way of praying, all of that. He will establish the prayer. And the giving of the zakah. The zakah is the charity, the money you're supposed to do to pay once your threshold is in there for a particular time. It could be a year, or it could be like the crops whenever they are ready. And he says, وَلَمْ يَخْشَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and he fears not except for Allah. And khashya here is an upper grade from the fear. Khashya is a specific fear. Because the khashya differs from the fear, that number one, the khashya, it will be with the knowledge. That means you know who you are fearing. Whereas the khawf and the fear, it could be you are ignorant. You don't know why you are having this fear. So the person, when you have khashya, then he will know that he has the knowledge from with the one that he's fearing. Because the person might be fearing something and he doesn't know what it is. That is called khawf. But the khashya, you are fearing someone whom you know, whom you know him, and you know that he is powerful enough. That is why you're having fear of him. Second difference is that the khashya is always linked to the great magnitude of the one that you are fearing. Whereas the khawf, the fear, you could be fearing someone who is inferior. Something is nothing. You could have fear of something which is not worth to be fearing. It's because you are weak yourself. That's why. It's not because of the strength of the one that you are fearing. Whereas the khashya, it is because the one that you are fearing is much greater than you are. Then he says, فَعَسَى أُولَٰئِكَ أَن يَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُهْتَدِينَ. This is a verse where it says that those are the ones who does so, believe in Allah, and they believe in the last day, and they establish the prayer, give the zakah, then hopefully the ones will be from the guided one. And why did he say hopefully, not they will be? Because they don't want you to be conceited, and you don't want you to be a person who is having self-confidence. Say, khalas, I've guaranteed Jannah if I did my charity, if I believe in Allah, believe in the last day, and I do my prayer, I'm in Jannah. No, he said hopefully they will be from the Jannah. So he always makes you striving to do better good deeds. And then from this verse, and the whole verse was brought by the author, is for the word وَلَمْ يَخْشَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and he fears not except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is actually shakes hand with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he taught Abdullah ibn Abbas. He said, Ya ghulam inni u'allimuka kalimat. From those words that the Prophet said, I'm going to teach you some words. Wa'lam, know that if the ummah, they get together to benefit you from something that they will not benefit you with anything except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already ordained for you. And if they got together to harm you with something, they will not harm you except with something already Allah had ordained against you. That's it. رفعت الأقلام وجفت الصحف. Third verse, please. قوله ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله فإذا أوذي في الله جعل فتنة الناس كعذاب الله. Now,
Surah An-Kabut, verse number 10, translation of the meaning. Of mankind are some who say, we believe in Allah, but if they are made to suffer for the sake of Allah, they consider the trial of mankind as Allah's punishment.
Right. So, from those people who say that they believe Allah, but their belief is not strong enough. Because when they are tested, if they are being harmed, فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ, then he will make equivalent to that harm which is the fear of the people. So the fear of Allah, the fear of the punishment of Allah, كَعَذَابِ اللَّهِ, is equal to the fear from the people. Okay? So this person, basically, his iman is fragile. He says, I believe in Allah. But as soon as he's tested with something, now he believes that those harm coming from the people is equivalent to the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And unfortunately, there are some people that tested that become apostate and they leave the whole deen. They will lose their deen totally because of that crisis or that calamity, and they will as well disbelieve in the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the ayah which follows that, وَإِنْ جَاءَ نَصْرٌ مِّن رَبِّكَ لَيَقُولُنَّ إِنَّا كُنَّا مَعَكُمْ أَوَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِأَعْلَمَ بِمَا فِي صُدُورِ الْعَالَمِينَ. And if victory comes from your Lord, they would say, oh, we were with you Muslims. But Allah says, isn't it Allah knows what is inside the chest of all the creation? What you conceal inside, Allah knows it. That means whenever there is a victory that takes place on the hand of the believers, those hypocrites, those are the ones who are not proper in their iman, they would say, oh, we were with you. But Allah knows what is inside it. Allah knows more than yourself about yourself. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning that the person should say something which he does not believe himself. Because if you say something that your heart is different from what you say, then Allah knows it. On the day of resurrection, all those secrets will be disclosed. All these secrets will be examined and cross-examined. So you be careful. Muslim had to always express what is in his heart, not to say something which he does not believe in. Right, from this ayah, what has been mentioned, فَإِذَا أُوذِيَ فِي اللَّهِ, if he's been harmed in the sake of Allah, then he will make the harm of the people equivalent to the fear of the punishment of Allah Azza wa Jal. So he will fear the people like he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is from the thing that would oppose this pillar, which is al-khawf. Al-khawf. Right, now we come to the hadith. Do we say the hadith is unauthentic?
Yeah.
Okay, read the hadith please.
Abu Sa'id radiallahu anhu narrated in the marfu' form that certainly it is from the aspects of weak certainty of faith to seek pleasing the people by displeasing Allah, praising them for Allah's provisions, and to blame them over what Allah has not given you. Allah's provisions are not driven by the eagerness of the covetous, nor averted by the dislike of the hater.
I think I said it's mawdu' or makdhub, but I think I said as well the meaning of its sound.
Yeah.
Yes? Did I say the meaning of its sound? I'm asking.
No, I didn't write it.
Okay, well, the meaning of its sound, I didn't explain the hadith, did I?
No.
Okay. I always skip the hadith that are unauthentic or they're not really right. But let's just explain it, because it is, as I said, the meaning of its sound, even if it's not right, it's not from the Prophet ﷺ at all, but the meaning of its sound, it's actually been mentioned in other hadiths. So he says from the weakness of the yaqeen on that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your Lord, that Islam is the correct religion, that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Prophet, that's the yaqeen. So from weakness of the iman, basically, that is, you please the people on the expense of displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is being mentioned by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We find that in a hadith which is mentioned from Aisha radiallahu anha. Aisha, we find it in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, that a man from the Medina, he said, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu wrote to Aisha when she was in Medina and he was in Bilad al-Sham. He said, write for me a letter that you would counsel me, you could give me an advice, but don't give me too much. So Aisha, she wrote back to Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu, saying that, peace be upon him, probably I've heard the Prophet ﷺ saying, he who seeks the pleasure of Allah on the expense of the displeasure of the people, then Allah will suffice him from the need to the people. And he who seeks the pleasure of the people on the expense of displeasing Allah, bringing Allah's wrath upon him, then Allah will leave him to the people. And at the end of the letter she said, and peace be upon you. So this is a hadith which is authentic. He who seeks the pleasure of Allah, and that is going to be the following hadith, but I've given more to it when I say Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, he wrote to Aisha asking her to give him an advice. So then he says, وَأَن تَحْمَدَهُمْ عَلَى رِزْقِ اللَّهِ, and you praise them on the rizq of Allah. That you praise them that Allah actually is the one who's the provider. But by the way, this is not really in general, because if somebody gave you something, you need to praise them. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا يشكر الله من لا يشكر الناس. He will not thank the people. He will not thank Allah who does not thank the people. So, but you are at the end, if you are a believer in your heart that the real provider is Allah, there's no problem, but actually you have to express your gratitude to that person who has given you the favor. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ صَنَعَ لَكُمْ مَعْرُوفًا فَكَافِئُوا, who does for you a favor, then reward him. And you don't find anything to reward him, then make a dua for him. Jazakallahu khairan. You've done a lot. So if you said Jazakallahu khairan, so give him dua to the extent that you believe that you have actually rewarded him for what favor he had given you. So that is no problem. But here he's talking about that you praise the people with also in your mind that Allah's got nothing to do with it. That's what is not really good. This is from the weakness of the iman. A person He believes that those people are the ones who gives. Without them, there will be no rizq. Then you are under the threat that your iman is weak. But if you are in your heart and you know that Allah is the giver, but you're trying to express your gratitude to that person, then is no problem, inshaAllah. Overly, the third paragraph for that hadith, وَأَن تَذُمَّهُمْ عَلَى لَمْ يُؤْتِكَ اللَّهُ. And you criticize them for what Allah did not give you. So you know that the one who prevents is Allah at the end of the day. But no problem if, for example, somebody had fallen short, okay, from doing what he's supposed to do to you, then no problem to blame them. But as long as you know that the one, at the end of the day, he is the one who had prevented you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You'll know that even if the people had fallen short of doing what they're supposed to do, and you did not get what you're supposed to get, Allah will give it to you. Allah give it to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained for that thing to happen, it will happen, regardless of these people preventing you or not giving you. Do you understand me? So the Prophet said to Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, if the people want to harm you with something, then they will not harm you except with something already Allah had ordained against you. Right, so this is now the link between this is that the person, when he has fear, that's the fear, which is at the end of the hadith, said, Inna rizq Allahi la yaduruhu harisu haris, that Allah's provision cannot be pulled or dragged or attained by the eagerness of somebody who is eager to do it. And the word covetous. And it will not be prevented by the hatred of someone who is hating that. No, it is not. So we find that in this issue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is the giver, is the one who prevents. Whether you are seeking or not seeking, Allah at the end of the day, it is His mashi'ah and will to give you. You find, for example, somebody is making a lot of job, yet he is getting nothing. Or peanuts. And somebody's doing nothing, suddenly his uncle, who is, for example, in America, and he's a billionaire, and he had no person to inherit him, and he will be a rich in one day. Suddenly, subhanAllah. So that person who was staying in the bed, didn't do anything, he became a billionaire, and that person is working day and night, 24 hours, 7 days a week. He got what? Peanuts. Who's the giver? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that at the end of the day, you'll find Allah Azza wa Jalla had given. If you remind with me as well, or remember with me, what happened to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu in the conquest of Khaybar, where the Prophet of Allah, he said to Umar, I'm going to give the banner to someone whom Allah loves and His Messenger, and he loves Allah and His Messenger. Allah will give the victory in his hand. So all the companions there, they wished that there will be, it is them, that Allah loves them, their Messenger. And it was not one of them, because all of them they're doing their best to be, because they were there to be that one, but the one who got it is somebody who's at home. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he was blind, remember, because it was having remedy. Prophet called for him, so he didn't do anything, but Allah granted him that. So what I'm saying, you'll find, for example, a person, let's say that he's doing everything to avoid the death, and death will come to him. Okay, even when he's dead. And somebody who is doing something that is really, I would say, daring, and it has death hazards, yet he will live for a long time. Because the preventer and the giver is Allah the Almighty Azza wa Jalla. Then Aisha radiallahu anha, she said the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, which is the hadith that, as I said, is actually talking about the first part of the unauthentic hadith. Yes? Can you just read the translation of it?
Aisha radiallahu anha reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever seeks Allah's pleasure at the cost of people's displeasure, Allah will be pleased with him and make the people be pleased with him. But whosoever seeks the people's pleasure at the cost of Allah's displeasure, Allah will be angry with him and make the people be angry with him. Word by Ibn Hibban, Sahih.
Actually, this hadith can give us the following benefits. Number one, that there is a compulsion to seek what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though the people will be displeased. Because Allah is the one who benefits you and the one who is harming you. So there's a compulsion here, obligation upon you to seek what pleases Allah, even though it will displease the people. Number two, that it's not allowed for you to go and seek anything that would displease Allah just for the sake of pleasing the people, regardless whom He is. Even if it's your father or your mother, can't. And also, we can benefit from this that we could confirm that Allah is being displeased, and He has as well the anger, the wrath, and it is on its reality without any imitation or anthropomorphism with the humanity. So, because Allah says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ, there's nothing like unto Him, and He is the Sami', and He is the Basir. So, madhab Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and I'm going to go here from the explanation of Shaykh Uthaymeen, that we are from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, we affirm what Allah had affirmed for Himself, and we negate what Allah had negated away from Himself. But we don't say to these people from the Firaq, like the Mu'tazila or the Asha'ira as well, where they said, for example, that we cannot say Allah gets angry, He's got the wrath, because that will entail that this anger means the blood is boiling, the heart is pumping a lot, and this is not really suitable to the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But this is a mistake, because they have made analogy where they're comparing the Creator with the creation. Comparing the Creator with the creation, and the anger of the Creator with the anger of the creation. So the way that we refute this argument is by two ways. Number one, we say that this is prevented, cannot take place, because the anger which is attributed to Allah is not at all like the anger attributed to the creation. And the second way of refuting that, we say to the Ash'ari, you have attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala something called al-irada, the will. And the will, if you want to explain it, is actually, it's your inclination to your heart in order to bring good and take away harm. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to what you believe, is not suitable for such a thing. So they said, no, this is the will of the creation. So we say the same thing here, this is the anger of the creation. So the anger of the creation is like the will of the creation. So this is the way as well we refute their argument. Whenever you always try to interpret the names of Allah, the attributes of Allah, with your intellect, free from the religion, you're going to end up with batil interpretation. That means falsehood. And you will be saying things upon Allah without any knowledge. And this is haram, and this will lead you to kufr. Any person, whenever we tell him something regarding Allah, what He spoke about Himself, and he feels inside himself disgusted, then he's got a sick heart. So if we say to him, Allah descends, Allah ascends, he says, oh, can you do that? How can you say that? Allah has got a finger, Allah has got a shin, Allah has got a foot, according to the hadith. And he feels, no, how can you say that? Then we say to him that you've got a sick heart. Heart involves you're sick, you need to be treated. Right, so nobody from the companions themselves had denied such a thing. It landed in their hearts with beauty, alhamdulillah, because they know at the end of the day that the foot, the shin of Allah is been mentioned suitable to His Majesty. And I always give this example. When we say the leg of the table, does it come to your mind? It's like the leg of a human being who's got hair and toes, but it's a leg and it's a leg. So we would never say the leg of the table, oh brother, could you say the leg of the table, making a human being? SubhanAllah, the leg of the table is the leg of the table. And the leg of the human, the leg of the human. So the shin of Allah, the shin of Allah, same thing. Fine. And the issues, and we explained them, alhamdulillah. So I'll stop here. That was a revision. And inshallah, Abd Tawakkul next week. I will ask you now to fire your questions, inshallah. And I'm sorry to do that as a revision. I thought it was the same chapter as you, Ahmed. Tfadal, Ahmed.
What about fear for a righteous person or a scholar? Like you mentioned, some of the students of one of the known scholars, they would just tremble. Is that from a natural fear, or which category would that be?
Person who's asking a sheikh and his fear because he's a sheikh, is that natural fear? Of course, natural fear. You know, I'm a khatib for how many years, God knows, maybe more than your age yourself. Since I was 21, 22 years old, I'm a khatib, so makes it about more than 30 years. Khatib. But still, every time I make a khutbah, I shake. I tremble. Shake is not in the khutbah itself, but just the fear before the khutbah. Sometimes it's natural. It's not shirk. That fear actually, if it results into good things, then it's good. But if this fear is going to stop me from making the khutbah, that's not good. Not good fear. If that fear of yours is going to stop you from benefit from the scholar, that's not good fear. Okay? Abdullah ibn Abbas, I stayed for 2 years. When I asked Umar Khattab for a question, but because of the fear, the reverence, the sheer reverence he's got towards Umar, he said, I hit one sana. Sanatayn. 2 years, makattu sanatayn. I have stayed for 2 years having the fear to ask Umar Khattab a question. I mean, that's natural, because Umar Khattab, radiallahu anhu, who's gonna, if you see Umar Khattab, you're gonna be scared, radiallahu anhu. That is absolutely acceptable, inshallah. No.
You explained about the khashya and the
And I'll tell you, it comes to my mind as well, what that person was doing in the battle, and he's throwing himself onto the enemies. And what Talha had done on the day of Uhud, هذا يوم Talha, and he was charging against the enemies. That is, the companion said, we couldn't do what he was doing. That was what? The fear. We were not fearing to do what he was doing. He was fearing. And when he saw the companions, some of them, they were fleeing, some of them, they were charging. He said, O Lord, inni abra'u lak ilayka min suni hawla. O Lord, I dissociate myself from what the kuffar is doing. And a'tadiru ilayka min hawla. And I apologize on behalf of those Muslims who had run away. So he charged against the enemies. That is courageousness that you don't find in every single companion. Some of the companions is not as strong. In the Battle of Mu'tah, we had Zayd ibn Haritha, martyr. Ja'far ibn Talib, martyr. Then Abdullah ibn Rawaha, it took him some time. He was eating, even his cousin, he brought him some meat. He said, take strength from that meat in order to go on. But he was not as daring like Zayd ibn Haritha and Ja'far ibn Talib. He had some meat, and then he said, it's going to be too long life for me to finish this. And then he charged. So there had some hesitation at the beginning. So that is no problem, as long as it does not make you want to stop what you're supposed to do. That's no problem.
So the khawf and khashya, we use we know the verses about taqwa as well, which is referred to fear. How does it fit into those two categories of what does this mean?
Taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding the fear. Basically, Talq ibn Habib, he says that if a fitna means, punishment or harm takes place. He said, if a fitna or harm comes to you, then extinguish it with taqwa. So extinguish the fitna with what? With taqwa. So they said to him, what is that taqwa? Talq ibn Habib, one of the great followers, what is the taqwa? He said, أن تعمل بطاعة الله. You embark upon your deeds you embark upon the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, قال على نور من الله ترجو ثواب الله. On the light, on the knowledge of Allah, and you hoping for the reward from Allah. وأن تترك معصية الله. And at the same time to disembark and leave and abandon the sin against Allah Azza wa Jal على نور من الله. On the knowledge, on the light from Allah Azza wa Jal, تخاف عقاب الله. Fearing the punish of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't know if before I have explained to you how we are actually talking about the ibadah every time that we recite the Fatiha. Do we explain that in your notes? Yes, on the Fatiha. Yes. طيب. Uncle, I didn't see you. Nice tea, uncle. Beautiful, mashallah. Yes.
Sheikh, you mentioned two things today, well, many things, but two things I caught up with you.
Yeah.
One is test, and the second one is punishment. And I want to take an example. In America, 2 weeks ago, an island called was hit by a hurricane called Maria, and 90% of the building had been destroyed. How do we know this is a test or a punishment?
If a person, as a Muslim, had been afflicted by any calamity, a Muslim, a believer, then he should not be preoccupying himself and busying himself to know whether this is a punishment or this is a test. He should busy himself with saying, what is the outcome of this? Whether it's a punishment, he should not be in despair of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Look, Allah is punishing me all the time. Stop him from doing these. And he should not be as well making overconfidence. Look, Allah is testing me because I've got a powerful iman. Because Allah tests the powerful iman. So if you do like this, you're going to get life straight. You need to look at the consequences. Whether it's punishment, whether it is a test, at the end of the day, it is for me to get stronger on my deen and stronger to leave my sins. That's what it is. So it should get me closer to Allah, and not to say to myself, you see, I'm powerful in my iman, that's why Allah is testing me. Or no, I am a very bad, evil person, as well as punishing me, and I should really stop what I'm doing because it's actually hopeless to go ahead with my good deeds. That is not really supposed to be done. As for the kuffar, it is of course a punishment. It's not a test for them. Test for what? For their kufr. The kuffar. The test is for the iman. Okay, it's a punishment, and also it is a wake-up call at the same time. Some of them wake up here from these things. So all of it things that happened to people of Ad, people of Thamud, all of these are not tests. It's a punishment from Allah Azza wa Jalla that they have disobeyed the clear commands of the prophets, the clear signs from their Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is why they were punished. And the punishment and the illness of the kuffar takes place to them. It's like an animal being harmed. The animal cannot distinguish whether it's a test, whether it's a wake-up call, whether it's a punishment. It's an animal. And that's why they are animals. These kuffar, these believers, are animals. In the way that they think. You know, if you tie up the camel and release the camel, does the camel know why you tied him up and why you released him? He doesn't know. He knows that he's been tied up. He knows that he's been released, but he doesn't know why. Do you understand me? Same thing with these kuffar. They don't know why they were punished, why they were destroyed. They don't know anything. Except for Allah Azza wa Jalla, that person who is now wake-up call for him, like one of these doctors, which is stories on YouTube. He's a professor in, I think he's doctor of medicine, and he's mashallah now knowledgeable person in the deen, that he had a test, not test, a punishment to his daughter. His daughter, he's a doctor, and his daughter, she had been struck with an illness that it's hopeless to treat, and he knows the illness himself. And he was supposed to be, supposedly to be Christian, but he's actually an atheist. Christian in his original religion, but he's an atheist. So I was fascinated with this story that when his daughter, she was in the hospital and she's been diagnosed with that illness and she's going to die. And the doctors, they told him, they don't know that he knows as well. There's no hope. That's it. So he left the room and he went in the hospital and he said there is a chapel, like a room for worship, regardless which religion you're in. So I went there, and I just said the following words. He said, I said them and I was shivering. I said, I don't know, God, if you're there, because he's in doubt, is he there or not. God, if you are there, I don't know if you're there or not. If you can give me just a sign regarding my daughter, I promise you, I will investigate in your existence. Look at that. I promise you. And he was truthful to his words. So he said this, and he was not even having any hope. He was, I don't know if you heard this story, but he listened to it, very nice. And he went back. He just left it for an hour or so. See, when I went in the room, the faces of those doctors who they had said farewell to me when I went to the chapel, I came back. They said, There's nothing wrong with her. She's going to live. You know what? He was shocked. So shocked. Just enough. He said, and then he started telling me, he didn't become a Muslim at the beginning, but he fulfilled his promise. And he started going. First thing, he investigated his own religion. He's supposed to be Christian. And then he went to, he said, every ism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianism, Judaism, Christianism, everything. Into Islam. He said, this is the religion of Allah. And he's, mashallah, with a beard and religious man. And he is not in America anymore. He is based in Saudi Arabia, mashallah. He left all of that. And he's in Medina, of the Prophet ﷺ. Imagine, from me. So, that's a story of a man. That's inshallah an answer for you, uncle. Do you have another question? جزاك الله خيرا. كيف حالك يا ابو الخطاب؟ الله يبارك فيك. أيوه. How are you? I haven't seen you for a long time. Your cat has grown up, mashallah. تفضل.
Just off the topic, a young child going into puberty, can a child lead adults in the right?
Child with no hesitation that he could lead the prayer, except in some of the madhab like the Hanafi, but he can lead the prayer as long as he knows that what is wudu, okay, and what are the pillars of the prayer, and he could recite the Fatiha as he could be as little as 5 years old. And Amr ibn Salama, he led the prayer when he was, he says 7 or 6, he can't remember. Is it 7 years or 6 years old? And I know that it's a blind boy, he's a genius, mashallah, in his memorization. He had memorized the Quran when he was 7 years old. And he memorized the 18 books of the Sunnah by heart as well when he is about 15 years old. Now he's about 15 years. And he knows the Quran inside out. Just not the verses or the verse or number, but you give him a verse. He said, what is the one before? What is the one before? Not the one after. The one before, the one before, the one before, the one before, the one before. He keeps saying the verse which is before. He's a machine, mashallah. Even a computer can't be as fast as it. Wallahi, computer can't be fast as it. You tell him, what is before? What is before? And he's blind. Blind boy. And he memorizes the Quran, and he's got now as well the ijazah and the recitation, and Jazriya, Tahfat al-Atfal. Subhanallah. And his wish is that to be the Imam of the Haram. And he may be, inshallah, Imam of the Haram. And he said, when you have, if Allah giving you the sight, which is the first thing that you want to see? He said, my parents. We see his father and his mother. Now, tell
Last week you explained the sort of the prohibition takes precedence over the permissibility.
now, no.
So, wherever you have you said about 2 days, and so we are applying the prohibition
Over the presbytery.
that prohibition, is that singling out just for the 1 day, not for 2 days? If you understand.
Which 2 days?
So the hadith says
Prohibition of a set.
yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly, that's relating just for
Just a set.
Just the set.
That's it. Prohibition is only for the set. And by the way, this controversial issue gave me a headache. Because I've been hammered with the social media with this hadith and this hadith. I said, brother, khalas, bring a coin, start toss, and see which one that you like to follow. I've got given up on you guys. I'm saying this is the opinions of the scholars. And let me tell you something important. If you have heard about a hadith which is authentic, and somebody says, we don't know any scholars had implemented that, his knowledge of saying, I don't know if the scholars had implemented that hadith is not knowledge. Do you understand that? Al-ilmu bil-adam. That is, if you know that it doesn't happen, if something is not there, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So if I went out from this room and somebody asked me about the uncle, let's say that I didn't know that the uncle is here. I said, he's not there. My knowledge of he's not there is not mean that he is not there. Maybe I couldn't see him. So that's a very important issue, this is. So if somebody says, no, we don't know what scholars are saying this, saying that nobody can fast except if it's unless it is obligatory. We don't know anybody. And unfortunately, I've heard some as well, da'i, or say scholars, really they say that, Sheikh al-Albani, when he said that when he was asked by Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abbad, rahimahullah, who is, if you, from your memory, apart from you, who say that it's not allowed to fast the Sabt, unless it's obligatory, who else? Sheikh al-Albani said, the narrator of the hadith. So some scholars, they said, when the narrator of the hadith says a hadith, it doesn't mean he carries the opinion of that hadith. Okay? Did you understand me? But that is dangerous. From one angle, yes. What do you mean? Abdullah ibn Umar, he narrates the hadith of, for example, Juzzu Shari wa A'fu Liha. So what does that mean? If he doesn't carry the opinion of that hadith, what does that mean? That means he's opposing that hadith? But there is some, yes, if that companion, he had known another hadith which abrogates or would specify, there's no problem. But he doesn't know that the scholar, for verily, the Shaykh al-Albani said that the narrator of the hadith himself, Abdullah ibn Musa, he said, when he was asked in the fast of the Sabt, somebody fasted the Sabt, he said, Ma sama wa la aftar. He did not fast, nor he broke his fast. And this is the same statement that the Prophet of Allah said when he was asked, what about fasting the entire year? He said, Ma sama wa la aftar. He did not fast, nor he broke his fast. That means fasting the entire year is beneficial, no benefit from it. You can't get benefit out of it. It's not right. They say he used the same terminology, that companion, regarding fasting as Sabt. So that's his opinion regarding fasting as Sabt. So after that you say that, oh, it's not his opinion. But anyway, I'm just saying, whatever your opinion regarding which is the thing, you should not try to scoff at the opinion of Shaykh al-Albani because of that. There's nobody. And this is not just one issue, the issue as well of, in Hajj, when you went to Hajj, those people did not make tawaf until Maghrib. So the hadith is clear. Adu huma. So we find some scholars, unfortunately, we have no scholars had implemented this hadith. That's not really knowledge. So you didn't know that there is no knowledge. Scholars have done this. And hadith in itself, hujjah. The hadith in itself is a hujjah. Is a proof. I don't need this hujjah to be established by the implementation of any scholar. Do you understand me? The hadith in itself is the hujjah. It doesn't mean that I have to, make it stand on its feet by making somebody, I have to have a scholar. Yes, I have to be careful when you have a hadith that, hang on a second, the hadith is clear, but yet, alright, no scholar had implemented it. So we have to really investigate. There's no problem, investigate. But if you have investigated and you found nothing to oppose that hadith, you can't just say it's because of nobody had implemented it, the hadith cannot be functioning. That's really dangerous. Do you understand that? See, that is very important. And that's a principle we have learned it from our shuyukh, like Sheikh Mashur, Habibullah, Sheikh Al-Harabi, Habibullah. We learned that very important. Al-Hadith, hujjatun bi nafsih. And before that, of course, our Sheikh Al-Albani, rahmatullahi alayhi. أسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن ينفعنا وإياكم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.